You ever scared you're going to fail?
Yes, every day. When I wake up at approximately 6:30, sometimes at midnight, every time.
Welcome back to Building Nebraska, a podcast for dreamers and doers, powered by the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're one of our returning viewers, thank you for doing so. If you've not done so already, please do subscribe to this podcast wherever you're viewing or listening to us today. This is part 2 of our conversation with Embers Bakery and Cafe in McCook, Nebraska. And on today's program, we're going to be talking more about the business elements, what it's like to run a bakery day to day, a couple of interesting tidbits we get into as well, what it's like running a business with your spouse. And I asked Andrew, one of the co-owners, if he's afraid that they'll fail. Won't want to miss his answer to that. Stay tuned, and thanks again for listening to Building Nebraska. Well, this is a challenging interview because of these donuts in front of us.
I am going to make you take a bite of them on camera before we cut.
They look delicious.
Everyone has to see what it's like to bite into a Saintert's donut.
So you're a donut shop, coffee shop, got a pizza crust division, all sorts of these different business units, I think you called them. Give me the high-level overview. What all is happening?
Yes. So donuts are made daily, and they are as wonderful as this. And we have been tasting lots of donuts in the Midwest, and I will go on camera and I will proclaim that I think we have the best donut in the Midwest. So take that to the bank. Don't trust us. Test us.
See what you did there.
Yes. So donuts are our champion. I mean, we have a line out the door on Saturdays. A lot of people come in, and the donuts are king because they're fresh, they're uncompromising. We use local ingredients because it makes a huge difference. Coffee, we have a great partner in Normal Roasting out of Burwell, Nebraska. Josh and Sarah have become really great friends. So coffee is the other thing. You can't have one without the other, right? We have a breakfast menu, and we have been developing that. That's probably gone through 4 iterations now since we started. And breakfast is take it to go, sit down and eat it. We have a lot of people that come in after working the railroad, or nurses come in and grab whatever they need. And then lunch. Lunch has persisted since Matt started it back in the late 90s. And Matt called it something familiar with a twist. And so this is probably one of the few places you'll get a sandwich with turkey, provolone, bacon, and Granny Smith apple slices. We use all of our own breads to make sure that all the flavor profile is there. We're looking for texture. We're trying to get you to try something you otherwise wouldn't. So even our BLT, it's a bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but it goes on our sourdough bread. And then we have, I call it the dynamite sauce, but it's a BLT sauce that we conjure up, and we're looking for that flavor that you wouldn't otherwise try yourself, right? So you can go make a Subway sandwich at home because you have all the ingredients, but you don't have the flavor and the components that we do because we have a whole crew that's making sure that the flavor's dialed in right. Recipes that are all old and crusty and slid into this binder that who knows how old it is, and that is what makes a huge difference. So breakfast, lunch, and then we reach into catering, like you said. That's a smaller part of the business, but we cater everything from donuts to sandwiches to a bar. And that's because we have the ability. Matt and Shelley started that as well, and it's a huge part of making sure that we have the amenities. So that's, I wouldn't call it a community service per se, but we know that we can fill that need, and we can do it in a way that gives people the ultimate flexibility, right? Depending on budget and what kind of flavors people are doing. We had a 60th wedding anniversary, 70th wedding anniversary, 60th, and they had everything from chicken cacciatore to chicken rice casserole, and then they had I think it was like a German chocolate cake. Everything in between, and then they had little mini beer rocks. So it's just a huge gamut, and we have a great crew. So I mentioned Jamie, Cody, Tress back there. Have all been in the food service industry for a really long time. So we're fortunate that they have taken everything in their brain and put it on a piece of paper, so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. And then the last one, pizza crust. It's a wholesale business unit. It was actually purchased from another family here in town, the Weimer's family, Peter's Dairy Cream, and they bought it and have scaled it up. So now we sell all of that through Cashway Distributing, and it is a par-baked pizza crust. So we fill a niche where you don't have a mixer in your restaurant, but you want to serve pizza. We have the blank canvas that you can start to create and craft your own, as simple as pepperoni pizza or as wild as a buffalo chicken pizza. We see that in a lot of bars and restaurants that don't have that capacity but still want to offer a really great product. And that is used totally by Hudson Flour, and that is a huge part of what we do, is making sure that we have the right flavor profile, and that's because we use Hudson Flour, hard red winter wheat out of Hudson, Kansas, and it makes a huge, huge difference.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I saw you were talking about your partners on your website. You've got Normal Roasting up in Burwell. Also, the flour is obviously critically important when it comes to baking. It's not something I recognized until I did a wheat tour with some folks and learned all about that. How do you pick the right flour? I'm sure you maybe didn't necessarily go down there yourself, or maybe you did.
We have actually been down to the mill, but the funny story is we didn't previously use Hudson Flour when we bought the bakery. It was Juanita Flour. Juanita, Nebraska had a mill, but in the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, they actually had to close their doors. So we had 3 weeks before they ran out of flour, and we had to find another mill. And so we went down every rabbit hole, made phone calls, tried to find somebody that could fill that need and had the same nutrient profile, because that's what was going to be compatible with all the recipes. These recipes are from like 1960, 1970, 1980, and if we have to change them, then we're in big trouble. But we found the Stafford County Flour Mill in Hudson, Kansas, made a phone call. We had a couple bags shipped up, and we all the way down to the food science that I am not competent enough to talk about, but ash content, protein, all of those things came into consideration. We were maybe off just a small margin, but it was close enough that we didn't have to change any of our recipes. Everything still worked the same. Everything still reacted the same. There were no changes that we had to make, which was a huge relief for our staff especially. So we found Hudson Flour Mill, and we had no missed beats between running out of Juanita Flour and then Hudson. So later that year, this would have been 2022, we had our supervisors, our general manager, and then Alex actually took a trip down to the plant, and we're really proud of that because it has turned into such a wonderful relationship. Most of their wheat comes from about 3 or 4 producers within the 20-mile radius of each of their mills, and it's a fantastic, wonderfully run operation. Derek and his crew are fantastic. So want to give them a huge shout out because they definitely saved our bacon, but they do a wonderful, wonderful job, and they keep our retail shelves stocked so that even people out in the community, you don't have to go run and get the all-purpose flour. They make up bread flour, self-rising, all of those options, even down to a whole wheat. So it's been really, really cool to have them kind of in our back pocket, and we're testing out some of their other flour varieties now that we kind of have our head above water. But yes, they've been fantastic to work with.
Any idea how much wheat you go through, or flour, I should say?
Yes, actually, that's a really fun trivia question when we give tours. So in a given year, we use somewhere between 150 to 170,000 pounds of flour, and sugar we use about 85 to 90,000 pounds, and that's granulated sugar, powdered sugar, brown sugar. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of flour. We get 2 pallets shipped every probably 2 or 3 weeks from the Hudson Mill. And obviously that goes up as we get busier, down as we get into slower times. Right now we've got about 10 bags, so we're making an order today, and hopefully we have it at the end of the week. But that's also one of the things is we're calling the Hudson Flour Mill and making our order instead of trying to get it through somebody else. So we're still the pickup, call, and make the order sort of people, which is great. And then they just drop the 2 pallets, and we unload it bag by bag, and it's really cool. So yeah, we go through about a ton of flour every couple weeks.
So do you have about 25 people on staff?
We have 25 on staff. Full-time equivalent, that comes out to about 14, 15. So some retail people that aren't full-time, some kids that we have work on the weekends and in the evenings. But yeah, about 20, 24, 25 from front door to back door.
Seems like we always hear about a challenge of trying to find skill, not necessarily skill, I shouldn't use that word, but people who want to work in this day and age, and you create a smaller community, perhaps that issue becomes exacerbated. Do you find that same challenge?
It is challenging. We are really fortunate, right? So we had the base of people when we got here, so the transition from Matt to us, and we've really built up what we think is an organizational structure that we believe in, and that was a lot of what Alex and I came in with. Is the whole reason we wanted to get into entrepreneurship, obviously, is to create a way that people feel, and that starts obviously with customers, but it is built on the employees. And Jamie has been with us through it all, and we've changed the structure to include supervisors, which weren't previously here. And now I don't have to be here. Jamie doesn't have to be here. We have wonderful supervisors who are making sure that things are running consistently and smoothly, and we're still delivering that experience that people expect. and trying to translate that all the way down to our employees. So we've introduced and canceled so many different, trying this, trying that, and updating equipment and trying to make sure that we have the tools that all of our employees need to be successful. And, sometimes things don't work out, and we're fortunate to be able to have a quick remedy for that. And we're just really thankful that most of the people that are here today have been here for a couple years. So they have ridden this wave with us. Obviously, we still want to find really, really great people, but it stops right there, right? And we're not trying to select a master baker from this college or that college or this institute. We're looking for good people. And when we set that threshold, it makes it really easy to define and sift, who fits and who doesn't. And luckily, it's to a point where they're almost self-selecting, right? I mean, if this just isn't your cup of tea, there's no love loss. We want to make sure that everybody that steps in feels comfortable, confident, and understands what it is we're expecting of them, and just has fun while doing it. I mean, I always have to. I don't always. I mean, we're selling donuts, right? Don't take yourself so seriously. And that does a lot to improve the mood and lift up the mood for us, but also all of our customers see that too, right? We're a donut shop. We're one of the last living, breathing donut shops out there. So that makes a world of difference when we can look at the whole staff and think, we'll make it. Even if we're understaffed, we'll make it because we can look at each other and trust that we'll figure it out. I always will take 2 or 3 more people looking at you, camera one. But yes, we know that we've got such a solid crew, and we've done as much as we can to make sure that everything is delivered with quality and consistency, so that the only variable is, can we deliver great service? And as long as we have people on staff that can do that, we'll be just fine.
You referenced Alix several times, your wife Alix, that is. The two of you have 3 children. She works full-time, plus does your marketing, taking care of all the kids
Our volunteer chief marketing officer.
You're busy, she's busy. What's it like running a business with your wife?
Is there steam rolling out of my ears? Can we edit that out? Yes, it's such an interesting piece of marital counseling that you didn't sign up for. Gosh, it's tough. I use this analogy when I talk about my middle son, because he is just so intense, right? So the way I describe him is he feels every emotion at 100%, right? So he's not kind of mad or kind of sad or kind of happy. He is like the grab your cheeks and tell you how much he loves you, and then he'll get really mad because you told him no, he can't have a granola bar, and he'll melt down on the floor. Business ownership is kind of like that, right? There's no kind of feeling one way or the other. You are feeling every emotion in this roller coaster between 8 o'clock and 10 a.m., right? And there's nothing you can do about it, but it's so tough, one, to do it alone because you'll just get so sucked in. So to have Alix to unpack with, and then she has opinions, and those make me angry, but then we have to work through it because we still have to, be in the same house for the entire day. It's super difficult, but there's nothing more rewarding than being able to share an experience like this with someone else. And that's what gets us super jazzed about having employees, is but they're in it with us. We don't feel like we have to feel the burden of every single moment, just us, because we have them to lean on and they have us to lean on. And we've done everything we can to build this sort of team atmosphere. I'm very lucky that my wife loves me because there are some days I know I'm really hard to talk to. I know I'm really hard to work with, and she has so gracefully allowed me to muddle through all this. And there's a lot that she still doesn't understand because, like you said, she has a full-time job, but she has invested just as much of herself in the moments that she has. And it, just like I tell all the employees, we're selling donuts. We can't take ourselves so seriously, right? So yeah, I'm extremely grateful to have somebody who kind of evens my keel. And yeah, so shout out. Love you, Alix. Thanks. Who is also the person who set this up, by the way.
Thank you, Alix.
So,
we appreciate it.
Otherwise, I would never agree to this.
Seems like when you look at business owners in general, entrepreneurship, people are building for a reason. Whether it's, it's a donut shop, you want to keep this going in McCook, Nebraska, your family, a lot of different reasons people build business. Of course, there's the wealth aspect too. People want to build wealth and pass it on often. What's you and Alix's why behind why you want to be entrepreneurs?
There's a story I like to tell. When I was in Broken Bow, and I'm going to get kind of sappy here for a second. What I saw when I was in the economic development world is there were some people who were really struggling to find labor and others that weren't. And I kept wondering, like, why? Why do some people struggle so mightily and others, like I just said, figure it out? And there was a book I was reading at the time and rereading. It was called The Dream Manager by Matthew Kelly. And I kept coming back to this concept of enriching people's lives, right? So getting the book's basis is getting employees to really buy into the vision, but also rewarding them for achieving their own dreams, right? People show up to work because that is a way for them to build wealth and to make money. And even then, that is in service of something. You have bills, you have obligations, but you also want to go take a vacation or you want to go buy a boat, whatever the intention is, you have a job for a reason. And so I started to develop this concept of like, how do I get you to be successful? And as Alix and I started talking more about entrepreneurship, she comes from a farm background. I do not. Don't try and hire me for farm work. Because of that fact, there's no way we were going to end up back on the farm. So with that kind of out of her wheelhouse, and she didn't really have a desire to go back to the farm, but she grew up and loved that lifestyle. And this seemed like, is it the same thing? And I think absolutely it is. A lot less heartache than trying to raise a crop, so don't hold that against me. But entrepreneurship is the same across all ventures, right? So if you're doing HVAC or if you're farming or if you're running a bakery, it has all of the same challenges, just with different flavors. So we knew that there was this strong pull for me for entrepreneurship, but also her, that same farm lifestyle, is it all ends with you. And when we mixed all those things together, it's like, entrepreneurship is what we're looking for, because we can serve our employees, we can serve people and get them to feel a certain way, and then we can fulfill this itch that we both felt that we want to be in business. As much as we love working for other people, it just didn't fill the bucket. So that's just, it all molded together. The why behind it is melting all those three reasons together. We're here to make people feel a certain way. I talked about the magic of this place. The way that Matt and Shelley made people feel in this place. There are people that have so many wonderful memories, and they can say, over at that table this happened, and then I was here one night and this happened, and this concert, and I've witnessed grown men cry when they look at the donut case, because it reminds them of their, when they used to go with their grandpa, and they picked out the donuts. And I had a lady who came in and cried because we had an orange knot at the time, and there was this little cafe that they used to go to, and her grandmother passed on. But those sorts of stories, we want to perpetuate and create even more memories for customers, and we've expanded that absolutely to include our employees. Food is a wonderful vehicle, and it should be great and delightful, and it should emit a smell and a taste and a fondness, because that is what evokes those wonderful, cherished memories. So all that comes into play as, can we deliver a wonderful quality product in such a way that it makes you feel a certain way when you come back in 4 years, and like you remember the smell and you remember this conversation. Like, I want you to feel a certain way, just like I want everybody else to feel a certain way when they walk in, where your shoulders start to kind of drop. You're like, okay, this is a place that they're going to make sure I feel like I belong. For employees, for staff, and really the whole community, right? Like, two people that show up from Arizona and Michigan, like that's a moment that can only happen here. That's what we're trying to create.
You ever scared you're going to fail?
Yes, every day. When I wake up at approximately 6:30, sometimes at midnight, every time.
What do you do with that fear? I mean, how do you work past that?
it's kind of like nerves, right? So anybody that's ever performed at something, you get nervous that you might mess up. Anybody who's ever had to sing the national anthem, I'm sure, shows up and be like, don't forget the words, don't forget the words, don't forget the words. And like, there's real fear. You're in front of people trying to do the thing, and you're worried that what if it's not good enough? Or what if they think I changed it? Or what if we deliver a subpar experience? What if somebody, shows up and they didn't know we were closed, and then we missed that opportunity to, imprint upon somebody what St. Ertz is about.
I read that bad review online, by the way.
Right? Yeah. Just got raked over the coals.
Poor guy.
It's so sad. And
hopefully it came back.
Well, and you hope for that. But you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to miss a line of the national anthem. You're going to strike out. So what? And I have a lot thicker skin than my wife does. But I know that there's something to glean from it. We're going to learn. So now we make sure that we check all of our TripAdvisor and Google hours and make sure our hours are right online. Like, everything has to get changed. And, that's a lot of maintenance, and we don't have a system around it. But as soon as something happens, it snaps our attention into making sure that we have somebody's eyes on it. It's a consideration that we didn't have before that we have now. And the wonderful thing that I love about these people behind me, that coffee table that's back there, Warren, LaDonna, Dale, they're all magnificent. And everybody else that comes through the front door, and Donna's giving me a look, they share their concern. I had a guy the other day said, hey, you might want to wash the salt and pepper shakers. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
What, do I look at the salt and pepper shakers every time I walk in? No. And that's not on a cleaning list. Now it is. It's on a checklist. But if nobody brings it up, I can't do anything about it. And, the comments that come in online, how do we, was it a one-off or was it a breakdown? And so now I'm getting excited. What started as absolute frozen failure now is like, I can do something about it. That's all I want, is to be able to improve this experience so that it is as consistent as I want it to be, and it is as magical as we hope it is.
Favorite donut you guys make is?
Oh gosh, that changes every time. So right now, my mouth is watering. I'm going to start fumbling over my words here.
These look incredible.
This scone. Yeah. This is the second appearance it's made.
Sugar crystals all over the top.
This is a white chocolate cranberry scone. Oh. We only do it for a month. This is a payday sundae. So this is a sundae. It's a ring donut with the donut hole intact. We push the middle down. It's dipped in maple icing, granulated nuts, and then it has our homemade buttercream icing in the middle. It's magnificent. There is the reason I think we have such a great donut. One, the flour, right? Mm-hmm. It makes a huge difference. The other is icing. All of our icings are made in-house. Unwavering. Our peanut butter icing is 3 ingredients. And I'll tell you, it's peanut butter, it's powdered sugar, and it's water. That's it. Even the chocolate, 4 or 5 ingredients. That's it. So just as rich as the donut has this fluffy, crunchy exterior, the flavor profile of all the icings is unmatched. So my mouth is watering. Somebody should take a bite of these donuts. Please, dear God. But so right now, because it's the flavor of the month, the white chocolate raspberry scone is unreal. It is not a dry scone. It is delicious, moist goodness. But the peanut butter cup is a McCook favorite. This is this buttercream, but we make it in a peanut butter variety, spread it all over the top of a fried butter roll, granulated peanuts, and then a chocolate drizzle. And I think we probably sell more of that and peanut butter rolls than anything else. But then there's the apple fritter. I couldn't fit the whole case in here. I don't know what you want from me, man. This is going to turn into an infomercial.
I know. They look so good. We're going to eat them here in a second. My thanks to Andrew and Alix of McCook, Nebraska, now the owners of Embers Bakery and Cafe. Some exciting things on the horizon for them as they have announced they're expanding, not only in McCook, but also they're headed out to Kearney, Nebraska. Be sure to follow along with them as they unveil some exciting things happening for their business.